I once was in a meeting talking about new features and new things that we were trying to build. And I mentioned, hey, maybe we could just leave some comments in here. Immediately got cut off by another developer who was very adamant that no comments. Your code should be simple enough to where you just understand what it does. In this video, we're going to explore, should you comment your code? Let's check it out. To comment or not to comment? That's the question we're exploring in this video. Should you comment your code at all? We're actually going to explore both sides of the issue. Let's start exploring by looking at when should you comment your code? I know that there's going to be hardcore people who say, never. Here's when you maybe should comment your code. Let's say you start a new job. And at this company, they love comments. They are comment crazy. Comment. Why? Because you're following conventions. It's the same reason that you would put comments in your code if you're working on, say, an open source project and they use comments everywhere. Follow the conventions. I don't think it's right to come into a place like that and say, no, we are absolutely not going to do comments. Never. Why? While you may be in the right spirit of trying to help the developers become better at what they do, they probably have good reasons why they do that. Another reason why you might want to comment your code is when your comments actually create documentation. In a previous job, I worked with WordPress a lot. WordPress is an open source project. They built their documentation off the comments. Every function, everything has a comment, and that comment gets generated into a documentation page. So if you want to learn how to use that function or that filter or whatever it is, that comes straight out of that comment. And if you don't put a comment, they don't have documentation for it. So that's a good reason to use comments, is when it's part of the documentation process. One last reason why you might want to leave a comment is when you have business rules or design decisions or the why, when you really need to explain it. Personally, I don't mind having these comments in there. I find it helpful, but I know some people don't like this. I would say use it sparingly. You shouldn't have to explain things. If you really have to, like, why did we make this decision? This is a really odd thing. I think it's okay to leave a comment there. Having said that, lots of people are going to be adamant about, no, you should never comment your code. And I don't think that's necessarily wrong. A lot of that adamancy is rooted in a book called Clean Code. The writer of this book advocates if your code is written cleanly, meaning like your code is written very clearly, you really shouldn't need any comments because your code is self-documenting. You should be able to read through that code and understand its meaning. Here's some reasons why you should not comment your code. Number one, when it goes against convention. Let's say you start that new job and you come in and you start commenting things and everybody says, no, we don't comment here. Follow conventions and avoid using comments at all. Second reason why you should not comment your code is when your comment's really not going to add anything and it just explains what the code does. For example, sets value to 32. I don't know why you're doing that, but do you need a comment to tell people that that's what it does? Or returns false? You should be able to just read that and understand it. And if any other developer can read through your code and understand what the code is going to do, don't leave a comment for that. Third reason you should not leave comments in your code is when you could refactor your code to be more understandable. Going back to point number two, a fellow developer should be able to read through your code and understand what it does. And if they can't read through your code and understand what it does, you should probably rewrite your code. That, of course, begs the question, what does it mean to refactor your code to be more understandable? Let's explore that in the next video.